and this is the Sports Take Podcast. I'm just kidding. It's me, Johnny Redmond, as always. Welcome back, everybody. Today, I'm joined alongside, as always, Nick Odell, Joe Gentile, and Jonathan Donnelly, who will be returning in just a moment. How you guys doing today?
Good. How you doing, man?
Fantastic, Johnny. I'm ready to go for today. I've been absent for a short time, but I'm back at it.
You know what? I love that enthusiasm, Nick. Joe, you got to step it up. We've got a really great show today. We've got a really eclectic range of topics that we have to discuss today, so you better step it up.
I wasn't here last week, so I'm raring to go. We have a lot to talk about.
That's true. But first, I think we're going to go ahead and start with our trivia question of the day. Nick, take it away.
All right, it's a baseball question. You know, it's fall classic time, World Series time, so I'm getting a lot of history with the World Series and everything. So, on this day in the great year of 1998, the New York Yankees defeated the San Diego Padres in 4 games to win the World Series. So, guys, my question to you guys and our loyal viewers out there, how many combined wins, regular and postseason, did the Yankees have during that season? Was it A, 119, B, 120, C, 124, or D, 125? Let's start with our good friend Joe. Joe.
Oh, man, that's a tough question. How many combined wins did the Yankees have during that season?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 109. No.
Ooh.
How many combined wins did they have in 98?
Yeah.
Question. Oh, man. I actually thought this was a lower number than the options anyways, because I know the Sox won 119 last year, 2 years ago. I'll guess I'll go 124 since I even thought the numbers were lower than that. I'll go 124.
Okay, Johnny.
All right, so using all of my knowledge of baseball, which is not that much, I know you have to win at least 119 games to win the World Series. I'm just kidding. I know. So I know you have to at least win 11 between the ALDS, the ALCS, and the World Series. So I guess the question is, which one of these is the most realistic one? I would have to go with A, because I feel like winning 108 games in a year sounds like a pretty realistic team. I know that 1998 team was one of the most dominant ones in that dynasty. So I think that was probably their peak, right? So I feel like 108 wins in that regular season, it seems reasonable.
All right. Well, both good guesses. We'll reveal the answer at the end of the show. But for now, for all you viewers who are tuning in out there, comment below your answer. And, if Donnelly was here, I have another on this day fact for him, but I'll mention that later. But Johnny, back to you. And by the way, that on this day includes the Philadelphia Phillies reference. But that's why I need Donnelly here. But Johnny, back to you. But Joe,
I don't feel good about my pick. I don't feel good about my answer. After Johnny's reasoning, I don't feel good about it. But I guess we'll see at the end of the show.
Listen, though, I know that the record for wins in a season, I think, is 117 by...
Right.
Correct.
So I was trying to do the math myself.
So it could be any one of those, right?
Right, because you look at the Sox a couple years ago, they won 108 in the regular season.
Yeah.
And they won the 11 in the playoffs. So, to capture 119 total to win the World Series, but 124, that's a lot of wins. That's I don't know. We'll see at the end.
I was going to say, either way, that is an absurd amount of wins within a season. That's like a 70% winning percentage throughout the entire season, which is nuts for baseball.
Yeah,
Crazy.
It is.
Crazy.
All right, back to you, Johnny.
All right. Thank you very much, Nick. We're still waiting on Mr. Jonathan Donnelly to come back. But in the meantime, I think we're going to go from talking about our trivia question, which involves the World Series, to talking about the actual World Series. So, all right. It's an exciting one, too. You got the Dodgers, who have been a namesake for the past few years. And then you have the Rays. Now, both stories are fairly interesting. Both of them came back from a 3-1 series lead, and both of them were expected to be contenders in a very short and strike-filled season. Now, the Dodgers played a Braves team that really wasn't supposed to contend. Like I said, they fell 3-1, but they managed to come back and win the series. Now, the Rays were playing the Astros, who are a little bit of a better team. They were down 3-1. Or no, I'm sorry. The Dodgers were up 3-1. The Rays were up 3-0, right?
Right. The Rays were up 3-0.
Yes, they were up 3-0. My apologies.
And then the Braves were up 3-1.
Yeah.
Braves
Now,
choked.
yeah. The Rays almost choked.
Right.
They almost blew the series. So my question for you guys is, should the Dodgers or Rays, blowing these leads and almost not even making it to the series, should they be a little bit worried? Joe, we'll start with you.
Well, I know Nick was worried about the Rays. We watched most of the ALCS, and Rays were up 3-0 against Houston. Houston had all the momentum going into Game 7. The Rays closed it out. So they were the second best record in MLB this year, only behind the Dodgers. The Dodgers had to claw back from 3-1. Braves should have won that, but just like where's the Falcons? These guys, Atlanta does not hold lead, which is why I'm wearing this hat. It does tie in. And the fact of the matter is, since the Falcons, Atlanta cannot seem to hold a lead in any sport. So Braves fans should have realized up 3-1 they were going to lose somehow. But to lose 3 straight in the NLCS is hard to do. Dodgers had a great win last night in Game 1. Rays need to win tonight. They're not coming back from 2-0. They need to win tonight to make it 1-1. We saw comebacks though, 3-0 down, or I should say 0-3. Astros came back, and then Dodgers came back from 3-1. So we've seen comebacks in this postseason. I don't know if Rays against the top team, in the Dodgers will win. We do have one comment though from Scott Odell. He does say, does World Series, Nick's dad, does a World Series after a 60-game season really count? Interesting question. There could be an asterisk. There's been
That's
a
a
bunch of
great
talk about
question, actually. And it's something I was actually going to ask you guys. So shout out to Mr. Odell for asking this question.
Based on the fact that there's only 60 games compared to 162, there's 100 less games. If we played 102 more games, do you really think Rays and Dodgers would be the matchup in the World Series?
I guess the question is, you have one of two mindsets, right?
Mhm.
Your first mindset is that a season is a season, right? It doesn't matter if you play 10 games, it doesn't matter if you play 162 games, right? You know, and the better teams are the ones who are going to come out, right? I mean, let's be honest though, the Marlins, who were not expected to go anywhere this year, still made the playoffs, and I wouldn't say went fairly far, but went farther. You're going to have every one of those teams every once in a while within the playoffs anyways. But the question is, would they have made it that far with 162? Probably not. However, the Dodgers and the Rays were both expected to be contenders.
Right.
And they both still ended up going very far. The Astros, the Braves were not expected to go very far, but I mean,
I did pick Braves to represent the NL. If you check back on one of the earlier shows, I picked Braves. But
yeah, but a lot of people did
You're
not
really
have them
close.
winning the World Series or even getting that far.
right.
Maybe win the division, but not go that far.
But the last time the Rays were in the series was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
the
they-
60 games definitely did help them get into the situation that they are now.
Yeah.
But do they win the division? Do they have the top record in the AL after 162 games? I don't think so. I mean, Nick, what do you think?
Yeah. So by the way, thank you, Dad, for that comment. Thank you for tuning in. So great points by both of you. Like I would have to say it was going back to the original question, should the Dodgers or Rays be more worried? I would say
Welcome back.
there.
In the middle of Nick's point.
Yeah, well, interrupting my point. My point
Sorry.
is that I think based on what we saw in the LCS, I think the Rays should be more worried. In fact, I mean, the Dodgers are just a juggernaut team. And the Rays' biggest question is, can they close out a series when they're up? When they're when they're up, 3-0 or 3-1. So, yeah, I truly think the Rays should be more worried because A, the Dodgers are like a juggernaut team, and B, can they close out a series when they're up?
Well, the Rays, to the point of the Rays, is that they're going up against a team in the Dodgers that have been in the World Series the past 3 out of 4 years.
Mhm.
The Dodgers have the experience, just they always choke in the series. It's a matter of finishing the job, and I think Dodgers are on a mission. They have Mookie. They have got they won 43 games I think this year, the top record in baseball. And overall, kind of like the Lakers. The Lakers were on a mission. They know they're the best team in the league. Then let's go finish the job. And Lakers just won the championship 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I think, and you have LA and Tampa. So either way, and Tampa Bay Lightning just won too. So when you really think about it, both cities are doing really well right now.
Yeah.
But I think overall, I mean, Donnelly, what do you think? But I don't really see this season with 60 games. I don't know if you saw the question from Scott Odell. Does a World Series after 60-game season really count?
That's a really tough question just because there's nothing they could really do about it. So it's not like it was a choice like, hey, let's just eliminate half the games because we feel like doing it because whatever reason. There's a pandemic going on that caused them to do that. So I don't think that there's, it's not their fault that they did this. So it should still count. But again, at the same time, it's like, is it going to be creditable? Because you have only 60 games that people or teams played, and some teams play really well for like half the season and then tank the other half.
Right.
Which could be why the Rays got in. No one really saw that coming from day one. Most people thought the Dodgers, that's not really a surprise right now. But I don't know. I don't really think it's really that creditable, but still good on the Rays for getting into the World Series.
So I'm glad, Joe, that you did mention the Lakers, though, because they did also win a championship in what was a pandemic-shortened season. And I guess, so what I mentioned earlier was that there are two mindsets. Championship is a championship no matter what. The second mindset, though, is where exactly do you draw the line, right? Like the NBA, they were shortened from 82 to about 70. Am I right?
Yep. Around
baseball, it's a little more dramatic. It's 162 to 60, right? So I guess you have to draw the line somewhere in the credibility. Like if it was 120 games, or maybe if it was even 100 or 80, like how many wins does it require to be credible?
Right.
And Donnelly, you're absolutely right. Like there are two mindsets to this, and there's never a right answer to it, right?
No.
Like the only difference is that this championship is going to count, but there are still going to be people who dispute this, like they dispute the 1919 World Series. Like, it counts, but does it really count?
Well, I mean, you look back on shortened seasons over time, no matter what the sport is, whether it's a strike season, whether it's a lockout season, whatever word you want to use, but a shorter season. If a champion is crowned at the end of the season, you don't say, oh, well, there's an asterisk. Yeah. Or, because it was a shortened season, that's why they won the championship. No, they still deserve it. They still went through the steps like everybody else did.
Yep.
And if anything, this year it was expanded playoffs. So there were more good teams in the field, and they got through all those teams. And it's the top two teams after 60 games, 43-game winner in the Dodgers and a 40-game winner in the Rays. So it's not like the Miami Marlins are in the World Series, because then we would be like, I don't know, like Johnny at the beginning of the season, you gave the odds of the Miami Marlins winning the World Series.
$55,000 on a $100 bet, which is 550 to 1 odds, which is insane.
Which is insane.
I
which
would play
is
$200 on the Marlins.
Yeah,
Which-
that's like making if you bet your car payment for 1 month, you could pay off your student. Most people can pay off their student loans in this country.
right, and it's insane. So the fact that the Marlins won a playoff series, and advanced and everything, that I don't think that happens in a 162 game season. But you never know. Teams go on hot streaks and all that. But the season was shortened by 4 months. I mean, that's a lot of games. That's a lot of playing time. So I think we can all agree, like, yes, whoever wins, Dodgers or Rays, they are the champion. But at the same time, you wince up a little bit, but you're like, well, 2/3 of a season was cut. That's,
Yeah, it's like the what would have been.
Hold on.
You know.
Let me flip the standings too. Let me do that.
if you had the other 2/3 of a season, do the Red Sox creep into a playoff spot?
Yeah, it's like
that, you never know.
yeah, it's like what would have been, and
Right.
Kind of like what I was saying with people or teams that only do well in certain parts of the season. I mean, for example, the Phillies usually, do better than average in the first half, which when you look at the standings from last year, they're in first through 60 games,
Right.
but then they tank at the end. So, I mean, you get teams like that could have made the playoffs when normally they tank and go under 500, 3/4 of the way through the season, then don't make the playoffs. So that's where that whole, credibility comes in, because you have those teams and now all of a sudden they're in the playoffs and they get lucky and they win playoff games, and now they're in the World Series.
Yeah.
So I just want to go over the NL and AL standings really quick, and then ask you guys a couple of follow-up questions or make a couple of points.
Well,
So
just give the playoff teams, because we do need to move on to the next topic.
okay. I'll give the playoff teams. So the playoff teams: Rays won the division. Yankees and Blue Jays got the second and third spots. They both made the playoffs. Twins won the division. White Sox and Cleveland Spiders. And then we had the Athletics winning the division with the Astros moving on. And then in the NL, we have Braves and Marlins. Braves winning the division. Cubs, Cardinals, Reds, and Brewers, with the Cubs winning the division. Dodgers and Padres, with the Dodgers winning the division. I'm going to be honest here. It doesn't seem that far-fetched. I mean, except for maybe the Reds and the Marlins, it doesn't really seem that far-fetched. I would maybe have guessed the Phillies or the Giants, maybe the Rockies, but I mean, it seems like it lined up fairly well.
Well, I mean, you never see 4 teams from a single division make the playoffs. So this year is completely different, like you said, with the NL Central, with every team but the Pirates making it, which is insane.
The thing is, too, is that they're all contenders, though, with the exception of the Reds. I mean,
was gonna say, I don't think the Reds
and the
were.
Brewers. Yeah.
No,
all
exactly.
contenders.
No,
Yeah.
they could have all contended for the NL. But the fact that the Dodgers have been out, 3 out of 4 years, we knew they were going to be in it from the very beginning. And but 2 points I do want to make real quick while talking baseball. We do have a couple comments on the live on Facebook. Scott Odell again, second point. If the Dodgers lose this, does that top the level of futility that they saw from the Atlanta Braves between 91 and 2015? Would they be the Buffalo Bills of baseball, which I like that comparison? That's tough, losing 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. So a lot of pressures on the Dodgers. I mean, guys, in yes or no answer, what do you guys think? Are the Dodgers the Bills if they lose?
Those Braves teams had a lot of talent, but these Dodgers teams have a lot of talent too. I mean, I feel like in a way they're even more versatile than those early Braves. They've just been so dominant in the NL. When you think of an NL team that's really, really good, the first team you think of is the Dodgers. And it's been that way for 5 years. So I not only agree that it's just as bad, I think it's worse.
Yeah.
Nick, you were going to say something?
So if you look at the length of this time, like the Dodgers are getting there, I think, to the Atlanta Braves level. The Atlanta Braves, yes, they won 13, 14 consecutive division titles and only won the World Series once. The Dodgers, they they're on that path until they win a World Series, I would say. Until they
Donnelly,
win
what do you
multiple
think?
championships, I think.
What do you think, Donald?
I don't think that they're going to be looked at that way if they lose. You know, they don't have that previous, you know, look on them like, oh, they always lose, like, you know, like the Falcons have been doing this season. You know, they don't have that stigma on them that, oh, they're the ones that, you know, go up and about to win, then lose it all. So if they do lose it all, even if they, you know, win, go up 3-0 and then lose, I wouldn't look at them that way. I'd be like, that's a terrible, you know, World Series to lose like that. But they're not. I don't see them as a team that, like, next year I'm not like, oh, they're gonna win a lot and then lose at the end. You know, they're not that kind of team.
Right. And to be fair, too, 2017, Houston Astros cheated. So kind of take that with a grain of salt that, oh, maybe Dodgers do win that series if Houston did not cheat. But going ahead, Pete Gilbert also commented real quick, and then we got to move on. Are the Dodgers going to be this good the next 5 years, do you think, even if they don't sign Betts? I thought Betts signed like a 12-year contract, though. Does he have an opt-out?
Yeah, I thought it was at least 10 years. I think regardless, they still have a very deep team. I mean, they have Cody Bellinger, you know, they have Walker Buehler, they have Clayton Kershaw, at least for a couple of more years. You know, they've got a lot of stars on that team.
Right. Yeah, they're a good young core. I don't think they're going away anytime soon. And that division is theirs. They've won it like 5, 6, 7 years in a row. Rockies don't compete. Giants are always disappointing. I mean, Diamondbacks, they're up and down, usually get a wild card. And Padres are up and coming, but they're still a year or two out.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see what happens, though. I mean, Dodgers have a lot of pressure on them to win this year.
I mean, and it's with the exception of the Padres, it's not like the division's getting any better. I mean, you know, the Rockies aren't the same team that they were. This is probably really their last year for a while that they're going to contend. The D-backs have a lot of talent, but they can never really put it together. And then, you know, the Giants are just not the same team that they were 5 years ago. So, yeah, I think it's very much possible that if they don't win one this year, that they could win one within the next 5 years. But if they don't, then they become the Braves.
Yeah.
Even worse.
It's hard to do that.
But we do have to move on. Joe, you're right. We do have to move on to the next topic. So I think we're going to go ahead and move on to the Patriots. Now, you guys have been following the Patriots. They had a little bit of a bye week, and then they played the Chiefs, and then they lost. And then last week, they lost to the Denver Broncos. And the thing about it was, not only did they lose, they lost in pretty impressive fashion to a team that's pretty worn down. Yeah, I can see your faces.
It's pretty bad.
My question for you guys, signs of trouble? Joe, you look like you want to go ahead and start this one.
Yeah, signs of trouble. We had a game at home against Denver, which they had one win, and it was against the winless Jets. Yes, and they don't even have their best player in Von Miller. They got their quarterback back, which was Drew Lock. Drew Lock beat us in Gillette. I don't feel good about the Pats going forward. We play San Francisco this upcoming week. They just had a big win over the Rams. Then the following week we're at Buffalo, so we could easily lose these next two games and potentially be out of the division hunt. I am worried. I am a diehard Pats fan. And going into this year, I thought we'd win 10 games. I am nervous now. I don't know. This offense looked awful. This was one of Belichick's worst coaching games of his career this past week against Denver. N'Keal Harry, did he play? He played, right? He was healthy and was on the field for most snaps. But he didn't catch anything. So, I mean, he's got to step up. He has to catch at least one. I just want one catch from N'Keal Harry. I don't think that's asking very much from a first-round pick. I'm worried. What?
No, it's your Jalen Reagor or Nelson Aguilar.
We are we are third in the division behind Miami and Buffalo. That's time to panic a little bit. and I usually am one for patience under Belichick, and Belichick we trust. But man, oh man, with the offense looking like we do, and putting up 12 points against Denver, I'm a little worried. Even if we turn the corner against San Fran, we need a weapon at the trade deadline.
Nick, you look like you have something you want to say.
Yeah, I mean, Joe and I both had the face of of depression, I would say, about this team. I mean, Joe, Joe, I do want to point out a stat that you might have missed. This is the first time that the Patriots have a losing record in October since the year 2002. So it's been that long.
I didn't want to bring that up.
What?
I didn't want to bring that up.
Yeah,
I didn't want to bring it up. I don't want to face the fact that we suck.
Well, Joe, I mean, I'm usually good with stats, and I wanted to share that, share the grim news of that. But
yeah,
2-3, there might be a little panic, but I mean, I don't really think that I should panic too much. I mean, I think the panic button, I'm like halfway down the panic button, not like fully down the panic button for this team. But I'll tell you why. It's still October. We have we can make up some wins here, and hopefully and hope for the best. I mean, Belichick can turn this team around. I believe he's done in the past. And slow starts like this, I mean, it can really it can really motivate a team. I mean, Cam Newton just has to be better. Stick with the system, and go from there. But yes, there's some cause of concern there.
So before we get to Donnelly, I want to bring up the Patriots schedule over the next few games, right? On the 25th, which is this Sunday, they play against the 49ers. After that, they play against the Bills. After that, they play against the Jets.
Win.
Then they play the Ravens, the Texans, the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Rams, the Dolphins, the Bills again, and then the Jets.
Yeah, win.
Yeah.
So basically, those are all 50-50.
We always suck against the Jets, though. So, I mean,
we still have to play the Jets twice. So,
I'm worried. I am. We have the toughest schedule. We have the toughest schedule in the NFL this year. I'm worried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the way the Bills are playing, we're not going to win that game. We always suck against the Jets, so we'll probably lose one of those games.
Lose to the Jets. You can't lose to them.
It's a terrible time to lose to the Jets.
It's like losing to Philly. We can't lose to them.
We're going to get blown out by the Ravens. It's going to be 41-7.
Yep.
And then the Texans, that's really the only game that I feel more confident about just because they haven't really played well that season. But then we have to play Kyler Murray. Then we have to play Justin Herbert. And then we have to play Jared Goff and Aaron Donald.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Donnelly, what do you think? Pat's okay?
Well, at this moment, I definitely agree with Nick in the fact that I think it's a little too early to say that you guys are done for the season. But I also think that the season or the next, 5-6 games aren't as bad as you think. Because watching some of those teams play, I mean, granted, the Bills and Rams, teams like that, it's going to be a little difficult. But after watching Baltimore almost lose to Philly last week, I feel that you guys are strong enough to, actually win that game. And seeing as that, you still have the chance against the Bills. You still have the chance against Miami. And if you can contain Donald, then you have a chance against the Rams. So I don't think it's out of the question yet. Was last week, pretty terrible? Yeah. doesn't look good. But I don't think it's cause to be like, oh, this team is going under. No, I think they still have the chance. They just need to play smart.
I never said the team is going under, like it's done, but I think it's different than years past. Based on
for
a lot
sure.
of defensive players are gone because of COVID. They took the year off. Cam Newton is that quarterback who just recovered from COVID. He looked rusty. He looked like he hasn't been on the practice field in months, not weeks. And it just, there's no weapons on offense. So that's why the trade deadline coming up in a few weeks, I hope the Pats are active.
I'd say give it at least 2 more weeks, see how they do in the next 2 games, and then decide that it's cause for panic. I think it's just a fluky game that they did poorly on, and they just need to work on some things. I think they can pull it off in the next couple games.
Yeah,
The
I
next
do
two
want
games
to.
are arguably, I'm sorry, Nick, we'll get to you, but the next 2 games are arguably 2 of the toughest games that they have moving down the road. The 49ers
Well, that's going to show a lot, though.
and the Bills. Yeah.
But the 49ers are beatable.
Jimmy G knows us.
But
Yep.
still,
Jimmy G knows our system.
Yep.
That's
I
what
want-
worries me. Go ahead, Nick.
I do want to say, also too, to note in that Denver-New England game, Denver had 2 weeks to practice, as opposed to Patriots only 2 days.
Right.
So like imagine if we had a full week of practice or full, full week or 2 of practice like the Broncos. I mean, we could have been much more prepared to beat Denver.
Yeah, I guess we still need weapons on the field, though, whether we have practice or not. It's the players that aren't making plays. It's N'Keal Harry. It's our running backs who aren't making plays. It's a beat up defense. I mean, we don't have any linebackers. I mean,
I just figure I make that note about the game. Because imagine if we had more time to prep for playing for Denver, because preparation is key in the NFL.
Right.
So my question for you guys, really quick question before we go ahead and move on to our next topic. Is N'Keal Harry the biggest Patriots draft bust within the past 10 years?
Getting close, I think.
It's up there. I don't know because we don't have that big of a sample size yet. He was only drafted last year. He was drafted out of Arizona State, Herm Edwards system. Herm Edwards, one of the better coaches around. He's got that name that, hey, it's one of his players. It's a matter of, can he step up when we need him to? At the end of the game, we were in it. We were down 18-12 with the ball. Where was Harry? Even if he made 1 catch to put us in a position to win that game. He goes 59 minutes without a catch. But the 60th minute, he can all change the narrative of him with 1 catch. But he just disappeared on Sunday when we needed him. Yeah. And with the linebacking core on the other side of the ball, we're very thin. We're very thin. Our secondary is our best part of our team, arguably. So it's just a matter of the entire team. All right, sometimes a butt whooping is good for a team. Maybe this is going to be good going forward, and be like, all right, but now we know how it feels to get beat like that. Let's never have that happen again this year. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, I guess when I think of draft bust, though, it's really hard for them to come by, especially on the Patriots. I mean, I know it was a little more than 10 years ago, but you think of Lawrence Maroney not living up to expectations. Some people might argue that Sony Michel was not really living up to expectations, and Isaiah Wynn's not living up to expectations. But you're right; it's a small sample size. Oh, and plus we have that guy out of Florida. What's his name? The linebacker, Dominique something.
Dominique Easley?
Yep, that's it. Dominique Easley. Yeah, he was awful. But I mean,
yeah,
Belichick
has not drafted well. I mean, that's no surprise to Patriots fans. We have not done well in the draft. That's why I'm saying at the trade deadline, make a move. If we want to compete this year, and the Bills have just lost 2 straight, and Miami's going to a rookie. So this is a good time to really capture the division. Yeah. I do want to say one quick thing. Scott Liddell commented again. Thank you, Scott. 12 points against Denver while Tom Brady's tossing TDs to Gronk. Ouch. And he's right. Brady looked good, but Brady's gone. He's not coming back, which hurts to say. and he's down in Tampa. He's doing well. He's 4-2, and arguably the second best team in the NFC behind Seattle. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Thanks,
absolutely.
Dad, for commenting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Odell. We're going to move on to our next topic, though, and talk a little bit about the NFC East. The Eagles are struggling to gain a little bit of traction. Donnelly, we'll start with you, being our Eagles fan. Who's to blame? And should Hurts start over Wentz? What do you think?
And Donnelly, the show is only so long. So.
No,
we're going to limit you only to about 38 minutes and 12
Okay.
seconds.
I don't think that's long enough.
I
But
talked
no,
about
I think the injuries are their biggest problem, because it's limiting their ability to make the plays that they should have been able to be making. And also it doesn't help that Wentz is not completing passes.
Right.
And most of those, at least half of them, are probably his fault. The other problem is the injuries, having the backups can't catch is a huge downfall.
Right.
They're not making the tackles they need to make. They're not holding the line offensively. It's just a bad time for them. All the injuries from the line to the receivers, it's just terrible. And this whole debate about Hurts, trying to come in and replace Wentz, it might be too early, because I think, like we said last week, about replacing, Tua for Fitzpatrick, I think it's a little early. But the thing I think that needs to happen is those injured players need to come back and see what we can really do. And I did like seeing Hurts come in and run some of those plays. Really looked nice. Kind of looked a little bit like Lamar Jackson out there, running all over the Baltimore defense there. But I don't know. I think it's really tough to say at this point in time.
See, I'm going to disagree. I don't think it's too early. And the fact that I say that, though, is because, it's so evident, even just from the first two games. Wentz is playing better. Those first two games were absolutely abysmal.
Horrible.
What's the harm in letting Jalen Hurts go in there and give it a shot? I'm not saying start him every single week, but give him a half. Let
That's fair.
people show what he's made of. He was a great quarterback in college, and he could be a great quarterback in the NFL. I'm not saying he's going to be Hall of Fame, but he could be. Give him a shot.
That's true. All they did was make him run.
Yeah.
That division's so wide open. Eagles are 1-4-1, and they're one game out of first place.
Yeah.
Incredible.
The division NFC least is awful. And if there was ever a year for your Eagles to struggle, for Wentz to struggle for the first almost half of the year, with everything going on with COVID and everything too, with all the rescheduled games and players going on the COVID list and not having practices. We saw it with the Pats, but with the Eagles too. It's the NFC is having cases left and right, and the Eagles need to take advantage no matter who's at quarterback. And Wentz needs to play like a second overall pick like he was. And he's got Jalen Hurts in his shadow. He's got him hovering. They didn't draft Hurts high for just because. If Wentz struggles, you'll see more of Hurts. And
They've already starting to see more of him.
Right. And as we've seen in college, Hurts was in the Heisman Trophy, discussion at Alabama and at OU. So whether it's the pros, whether it's college, Hurts knows how to win. And Wentz, I'm not taking anything against him from going to North Dakota State because he did fantastic there. But it's just been few years with Wentz. And you see it in Cleveland too. Oh, Baker Mayfield, is he the guy going for? And these are rumblings that you have to have as fans and as an organization who's ever associated with a quarterback that's, I don't know. And if you're on that much of a fence about him, that's troubling. So hopefully Wentz can put it together at some point soon.
Nick, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, Philly. It amazes me that Philly is, like Joe said, 1-4-1 and one game out of the NFC East. The NFC East is just terrible. Let's be real now. But yeah, the Philly, like you all said, has their own problems, and it's just, you know, like I think Donnelly, you're hoping that, you know, things turn around in Philly, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have high hopes, but I think there's a chance only if their injuries, if the injured players come back. If not, then it's going to be a long road this season, and there's going to be a lot of Baltimore games happening again. Get just right there, and then they don't quite make it.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
watching a little bit of the Ravens-Eagles game at the end. I mean, I don't have NFL Red Zone, but they were showing bonus coverage of it on CBS, and you know, I was actually hoping the Eagles would pull it out for you, Donnelly.
I mean,
Would've
they
helped.
got Fulgham that came out of nowhere that, you know, is making big plays, which is phenomenal. But I mean, it's just not enough. They
Would have
need
helped
more.
us if you beat Baltimore in the AFC. Could have helped us.
Yeah,
It could help us, yeah, but I mean, we're nowhere. I don't think we're near the top tier AFC East teams at this, or AFC conference teams at this moment.
it also doesn't help
see.
that our play calling is atrocious too. I mean,
Do you think?
that's also problematic.
Do you think that you know? I think Doug Peterson calls the offensive plays, correct?
Yeah,
Do you
he
think? Do you think they need an offensive coordinator, like a separate one, so that Doug Peterson could just be
Well,
head coach? And
I mean, I don't, not necessarily if he can change his tactics. I mean, he's just had a lot of problems. He's afraid to run the ball. He almost never runs it on first down. I mean, that's not good for a team. You know, most good teams run it on first down. You know, and he's throwing it all the time, and that's what everyone expects. You know, he's got to run it more, but he's too scared to.
You know, like you guys mentioned though, this is a great conversation, but unfortunately we got to move on. I do want to make one quick point though, that you guys have made. I mean, at 1-4-1 to be in second place in your division is absolutely abysmal. I mean, this is the year for the Eagles to be able to figure it out to move forward. And one other quick point, actually, Joe was mentioning before the show that the NFL did 20,000 simulations, and it is possible for the New York Giants to win the division at a 4-12 record, going 4-2 in the division.
that's one of the
That-
simulations.
Yeah.
Yeah. that
Oh
is
my
absolutely
God!
That's insane.
At 4-12, you should not be hosting a playoff game. You should be a top 5 pick in the draft. At
Yeah.
4-12.
Yeah.
That is insane.
And that's why the NFC East sucks right now.
Imagine being the last place team in that division, though. Like, how bad do you have
16
to
or
be?
1-15 or something like that.
Well,
Yeah.
every team right now is at least one win. So, I mean, the rest of the division's fighting for 1-15.
Yeah.
I bet everybody's gonna be like 1-2 games out come the end of the season.
I didn't hear about that, but wow, the
It's
Giants
pretty-
can make it in at 4-12 as
Yeah.
the
Terrible.
division champion. That's atrocious.
And they're tanking. And they're not playing well. They just beat the Washington football team by 1 because Washington went for 2 at the end and missed it.
Typical NFC East play call right there.
Oh, it's just
It's
brutal
awful.
to watch.
You know, though, I would like to see it just out of curiosity, just to say, people, you know what? Just so you have a team that has 4-4 or like 2-6
Yep.
halfway through the season next year, being like, hey, we still have a shot. We can do this.
I mean, we thought
We're
this.
not out.
We thought the Seahawks a few years back at 7-9 were bad, hosting a playoff team. I mean, and just have a team 6-10, potentially a team having double-digit losses and hosting a playoff game.
Joe, that was 9 years ago that happened, 2011.
Yeah, I said a few years back.
Do you even root for your team at that point? I mean,
Well, Seahawks fans at that point probably jumped off the bandwagon because they were terrible. Once they beat the Saints, they're back on it.
yeah, and
Marshawn Lynch beast mode that game. I remember it.
football, what a great sport, isn't it?
I just want the NFC though. If I finish second in a division at 10-6. Right? We've seen this 11-5. Then you have the Cowboys or Eagles hosting at 6-10. How ticked off would you be?
Yeah.
You have to go on the
I mean,
road to them.
What a great
ESPN said that there's a 56% chance the Eagles will make the playoffs at a 4-9 record or 4-9-1 record.
Oh,
What a
God.
6-9.
That's way too high of an odds for
That's
such
way
a
too-
terribly losing record.
That's awful. What a great sport. Speaking of that sport, let's go to college football real quickly. Last topic on our roundtable. It's been a pretty interesting week. Alabama played Georgia. Great game, but not really. Alabama,
No.
564 total yards. Beat Georgia 41-24. So Alabama still has not passed Clemson in the overall AP poll. Then you had UNC losing. Yeah.
I want
Hey,
her.
Notre
I'm
Dame
just gonna
won.
say that one more time. Then you had UNC losing.
Thanks.
Oh, did I mention UNC losing?
Yes.
And
Still
then
better
you
than
had
Duke.
Tennessee losing. I mean, it's been a pretty crazy college football playoff so far. My question for you guys is, I mean, do you have any dark horse candidates for the college football playoff, or will things even stay the same right now?
Well, Johnny, you have the standings right in front of you. Pull up the top 10. So we got Clemson, Alabama for the top two.
Yeah. So yeah, you have Clemson, Alabama. Clemson has 54 first place votes. Alabama has 8, which I didn't think it'd be that close
Yep.
or that far. Notre Dame is number 3.
Moved up.
Yep. Georgia moved down to number 4. Ohio State is number 5. We've got a few points to talk about that. Oklahoma State is number 6. Number 7 is Texas A&M. 8 is Penn State. 9 is Cincinnati.
Wow.
And number 10 is Florida. I do want to mention a couple of extra notables here. Number 11 is the University of Miami, 4-1. Number 12 is Brigham Young at 5-0. UNC moved down to number 14 after their loss. Number 16 is SMU. Michigan at 18. Minnesota at 21. Yeah, those are the real. Oh, Coastal Carolina is at number 25.
Unbelievable.
Really?
Coastal Carolina.
The
Name me one
Chanticleers.
player. Name me one player on Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Exactly.
Chanticleers. That's their mascot, the Chanticleers.
Yeah.
Johnny, I want to dive into
Coastal
a point
Carolina,
that
great
I know you
university, though.
I know we talked about before the show, and I really want to dive into it because I've been anxious. The Big Ten should not be ranked in the top 10. Nobody in the top 10. They haven't played a game. Ohio
One thing
State
I-
is 5, and they have not played one game.
They're 0-0.
The only thing I can say to that, to like basically go for that, is to say that every year in the beginning of the season, everybody's ranked based
Right.
on previous years. So based on last year, I cannot remember off the top of my head where Ohio State placed, but if they're around that ranking, then it's possible that that's why they're put at 5. You know, any lower than that, I don't think that's true, especially after coming in, 4 or 5 weeks in. But it seems reasonable to be at least in the top 10. Top
That-
5,
oh.
a little iffy.
That's not the only thing it's based off of, though. It's also based off of recruiting classes. It's based off of the number of returning players. It's based off of transfers. It's based off of strength of schedule. So it is based on
Kind of-
performance last year. You're right. Everybody does start at 0.
That's just kind of my point, is that you start somewhere. And are
No,
you
I
going to
know,
start
but the
Ohio
fact that-
State as unranked?
No, I think that Ohio State should be ranked because of, like Johnny listed, all the criteria. But I'm saying, though, that teams like Cincinnati, who have beaten everybody on their schedule, should be deserving of a higher place for a team that has not played. They have proved it on the field this year. Are they better than Ohio State? Probably not. But at the same time, they have proved it. They have beat everyone on their schedule. Ohio State could come out and lose this week to Nebraska.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Prove it on the field. I know they haven't had a chance. Big Ten wasn't even going to have a season this year. I'm very thankful they are. But at the same time, to be a top 5 team when Georgia just went on the road to Alabama and lost to a number 2 team, and they're only 1 spot ahead of them. I don't know, just like Notre Dame. Sorry, Nick. They just beat a Louisville team 12-7.
12-7. That was an ugly game.
How are they number 3 in the country if they won't beat Louisville by 5?
I don't know. Ask the
Because they're undefeated.
That's exactly. So you beat the opponents on your schedule, you move up the chart. But Ohio State hasn't played 1 game and they've stayed the same.
But
So
that also doesn't always mean a lot, because you still have undefeated teams that are ranked high in the top 10, and you have teams that are, have 1 loss still ranked in the top 5. So again, it really just kind of depends. And we can go either way on this argument, but it's really not unrealistic for Ohio State to be at 5. Do I
But how
want them
about
to be
this?
at 5? Not really. But
here's my point, though. Okay, so Georgia just lost to Alabama, right?
yeah,
Say Georgia fell to 5 and Ohio State was at 4. Say the season ends right now and COVID hits, unfortunately, and then they play a playoff in January. You're telling me Ohio State, who did not play a single game, is a playoff team?
well, I think at that point that they wouldn't go about someone that hasn't played yet if it was under the conditions like that.
They're number 4.
But if you say it and that's how that's going to be, then yeah, that's kind of unrealistic. But those are some crazy, hypothetical
Right.
situations. I'm just saying that the team, they're going to be ranked similar to what they were in the previous years based on all the things that Johnny mentioned. And that puts them around the top 5. Had
Yes.
Georgia moved past them on 1 loss, not a good thing for them. But that didn't happen. So theoretically, this is not the worst thing that could come out of this, having Ohio State at 5.
It begs
And
the
not playing.
question for our MLB discussion. Where is the line? Right? Like if a team, first off, I just want to say you're going to see a lot more undefeated teams going into this college football playoff than you've ever seen.
Yep.
I would not be surprised if there are 10 undefeated teams left in college football, at least.
Do you expand the playoffs this year then?
Well, I mean, it's if nothing else, it's going to be a great discussion to want to expand the playoffs. I mean,
Right.
it's exactly what people who have supported expanding it have always wanted. They say,
know,
"Oh, my
I know.
team's undefeated. Why can't we get there?"
I mean, almost every other sport has expanded their playoff, even though there's not necessarily a reason to.
Right, exactly.
And on that note, too, I mean, it's almost like if you lose, you're done. Like your season is over. That is it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you go 11-1 or 9-1 or 6-1. You're out. That's it.
Well, we've always known that the shorter season, no matter what sport, every game matters. So college football having the shortest season of them all, if you cut that by a third, like usually you play 12 games in a season. Big Ten's only playing 8. I mean, you're losing a third of the season, just like baseball
Quarter.
lost a lot. So do you put an asterisk? No. I mean, but I wish each conference was playing the same amount of games, because baseball, every team played 60 games. So it was more fair and it was more of a level playing field. You have SEC playing 10 games versus the Big Ten, which is playing 8 games. That's not a sample size. That's apples and oranges.
And then you also have other teams that played the full 12 games.
Right. So how can you have to expand the playoffs if you're having this argument, because you're not comparing apples and apples when it comes to the 4 best teams in the country.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And lucky for you, actually, this ended up being one of our debate. This ended up being one of our bracket topics for later on.
Yep.
But before we get to that, I think it's a good time to go ahead and switch to our pick'em.
All right.
I got it up right
Joe,
here.
you have the NFL schedule pulled up?
I have it right here.
Oh,
And you have the spreadsheet?
perfect.
So, first game. Oh boy. Giants and Eagles. Woo!
I believe Donnelly should go first and pick this one.
I'm going to go ahead and pick neither. No,
Two
I'm still going
guys,
to
let's go.
I'm still gonna pick Philly on this one. I still think that they have a lot better team than the Giants.
The
Not
winner of
saying a
this,
lot, but it's still a lot better than the Giants.
the winner of this game is tied for first in the division.
It's like the worst thing that could ever happen. Oh,
Battle
geez.
for first when they only have one win apiece.
Oh God.
Fox must be like, can we just show the World Series instead?
You know, I think the World Series has an off day on Thursday, so I think Joe Buck might be.
No, FS1. Game 3 is FS1.
Wait, on Thursday?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Why would they? Well, they don't need an off day. They had 3-4 months off.
Right,
and then
true,
they're at a
true.
neutral
I was
site.
thinking
Right.
years past, but
Yeah, there's no travel day.
but whoever's commentating that game, I think definitely Troy Aikman's commentating that game. He must be like, oh, geez, good lord.
Brutal. That's brutal. Who you want, Nick?
I really don't even give a darn about this game, but I'll have
don't
to
think
say the
anybody does.
Eagles, just because I don't think the Giants just don't look. They almost lost last week to the football team.
What about you, Joe?
You know what? You pick a tie, you get 5 points, right? Is that what we agreed on at the beginning?
Was
Yeah.
it 5 or was it 3?
3 or 5?
We can give him 5.
Okay.
I'll go the tie. Philly tied earlier. I'll go the tie.
What?
All right.
Nothing.
Yeah,
2-2.
for a tie.
7-7.
I'll go 14 all.
Wow.
That's a lot of
No
points for either
offense.
team.
Wow.
No, that includes a pick 6.
So no
For
offense.
which side?
It does both. Both throw a pick 6. I'll go tie. I want the 5 points, and I can see them tying. They're both terrible, so I don't
The
want to
defense scored 4 total touchdowns, but today they ended 12-12. They don't even get extra points.
Game. The final score is 2-2.
Oh my god. They both got a safety back-to-back plays.
No, late in the fourth quarter too.
Yeah, I'm calling the tie.
The Giants are going to forfeit 2-0.
Who do you want, Johnny?
Oh my gosh. I had a point, but I completely forgot it. Oh jeez. Oh, God. I don't know. Well, okay. I'm thinking of a number 1 through 10. If one of you guys, or 1 through 5, if one of you guys gets it, I'll root for the Giants. One of you guys doesn't get it, I'll root for the Eagles.
3.
4.
4.
Okay, you 2 guessed the same number, but it was 4. So
So
I'll go with the Giants.
we got 2 on the Eagles, 1 on the Giants, and 1 on the tie. Okay.
Yep.
It's about right. Oh man, I really hope they do tie. Next, Panthers Saints.
Ooh, intriguing
I remembered
matchup.
my point, by the way. The real loser here is the advertisers. Imagine being a regional company and saying, hey, we're going to air for the first time during an NFL game the Eagles Giants.
Oh man.
That would be awful.
Next up, Panthers Saints.
This is actually more intriguing than I thought. I would have to go with still the Saints, but don't be surprised if the Panthers make it close because you know they have a sort of a decent team. Not gonna lie. So
This is a tough matchup. Panthers, they have Teddy Bridgewater coming back, and,
That's what I'm saying.
Bridgewater knows the Saints. The Saints, though, they get Michael Thomas back, which is great for my fantasy team. I'll go Saints because they're at home, but I can see the Panthers winning. But I'll go Saints. It's going to be a close game, I think.
I think I'm going to go Saints as well.
Okay, Johnny.
You know, Robbie Anderson is on my fantasy team. I really want him to do well. But the fact of the matter is that with Michael Thomas back, I mean, I don't see him putting up huge numbers, but I mean, he's going to make a little bit of a difference, at least in some capacity. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Saints.
Okay.
All right, everybody with the Saints.
who
Okay,
dat?
next up, let's see, Bills Jets.
On the count of 3, we
Yeah.
all say Bills.
1, 2, 3. Wait,
No.
what?
Jets may go 0-16 this year.
Josh Allen's on my fantasy team, and I hope he puts up 40 points.
So wait, are we basing our pick'ems on fantasy this week?
I mean, we have a wish list, but like I said, Robbie Anderson's on my fantasy team, but I'm still going with the Saints. So
Fantasy players can have big games without winning. So
That's true.
you tell that to Julio Jones.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
It's
All
like
right.
Julio Jones in 2018.
Next up, Lions and Falcons.
Ooh, this is tougher than you might think. I would have to say, believe it or not, I would have to say the Falcons.
They're on a 1-game winning streak.
And plus, they have a new they have an interim coach. They won last week. Falcons. Give me the Falcons.
Okay.
all right.
Joe?
Lions do have talent. I like that young running back, DeAndre Swift, out of Georgia.
He's
I
good.
hope he does well.
He is good. I think, the Falcons, they won their first game without Dan Quinn. Could that be momentum for them? And they go on a 2-game winning streak. Lions, their 3 losses, I think they had leads in the fourth quarter in all those games and lost. So they have to turn it around at some point and hold a lead. I guess I'll go Lions.
All right.
Not feeling good about it. Go Lions.
You know, this is actually, I wanted to say the Lions, but you know, I'm actually thinking that Atlanta's on the uprise. I think they're not gonna tank come the beginning of the fourth quarter. So I think they're gonna hold out and bring home the win. Johnny?
I think that, like all Atlanta teams, the Falcons will go up by what seems like an insurmountable amount, and the Lions will find a way to come back and win it. So I'll go with the Lions.
Okay.
All right.
Next up, we have the Battle of Ohio, Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Didn't they already play this year?
They
Probably.
play twice a year.
Yeah, like, but they already played this year, I believe. I'm pretty sure. I think week 2 they last played. Give me the Browns. Give me the Browns here in this game. I mean,
You
it's
always pick the Browns.
well, they're playing the Bengals.
You pick them every year, even though they go 0-16.
They're 4-1.
They're 4-1 this year, dude.
I'm just making a point. I
4-2.
didn't say you were right
You're
or
not
wrong.
making a good one.
No.
Yeah, give me the Browns. I mean, it's the Bengals, so
Okay.
So you guys probably have seen Stephen A. Smith's reaction to the Cowboys losing. He very much enjoys the Cowboys losing. I am that when it comes to the Browns. I laugh when the Browns lose. I
So
think
does
the
everybody
Browns.
else.
What?
So does everybody else.
Yeah, well, except Nick. But
And
it's the
Browns
lovable losers that continue to lose. They find different ways to lose. They are the laughing stock of the NFL. Besides the Cowboys, Stephen A. has already claimed the Cowboys, so I will claim the Browns. And it's just really funny seeing the.
You're gonna go with the Browns?
Baker Mayfield got benched. He was a number 1 overall pick. What a joke. I'm going to go with a different number 1 overall pick in Joe Burrow. I got Cincy winning.
well done with your statement, Joe, but I don't know.
Thank you.
Donnie, how about you?
I think I'm gonna go with Cincinnati. The fact that they benched Baker, it was not a good look for them.
They're terrible.
What do you
But,
think, Johnny?
What do you think?
I'm interested in this one.
I really like Baker Mayfield, and I really like Joe Burrow. But one team has to win, and one team has to lose,
You can tie.
unless
I was gonna say that's not the case. They can tie. Neither team wins or loses.
In the
One of them already
end,
did it.
two teams will walk onto the field, and two will walk off. I'm trying to sound really fake philosophical. Did it work?
No.
No.
Good. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with. I don't know. I'll go with Cleveland just because they have the record, but I think it's going to be really close. I think Cincy's going to get within 6.
Browns haven't made playoffs since 2002.
Joe, this isn't 2002.
I was looking up the over under for opponent win total for the Bengals at the start of the season. It's at 5.5. Right. The projected record for the Browns at this point is supposed to be 4-3.
And they're
Right.
4-2.
So they're right on cue.
They're expected to win this game 37-21. I think it's going to be closer than that.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be close to that too.
37. They better throw to Odell then. I have him on fantasy.
Nick Odell?
Yeah, Nick Odell.
Not
he
me,
can't catch.
the other guy.
The one that can actually catch.
Next, we have arguably the best game of the weekend. Steelers and Titans.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh,
This is-
5-0.
This is a tough game here, guys, and I would have to go by a field goal to the Titans.
I'm gonna go Steelers. They're nobody's talking about them. They look good, and I know Titans have Derrick Henry and Tannehill's playing at an MVP level, but Steelers have a great defense that nobody's talking about, and Roethlisberger has weapons all around him. So I think I'm gonna go Steelers on the road. It's gonna be close.
I think it's gonna be close too, but I think the Titans are gonna nail the field goal and win it.
But with Gostkowski.
Yeah.
Joe, I think you're right, but with the way that the Titans are playing, can't really count them out. I mean, the thing about the Titans is that they're strong right now on both sides of the ball. And Roethlisberger, he does have a lot of weapons, but he is getting older. So I think it's going to show a little bit, and I think Tannehill is going to manage to stay undefeated here.
I'm the only one with the Steelers. 5-0 Steelers.
Yep.
All right. I'm okay
I'm
with
not
that.
saying you have a bad point. I mean, really, there's no
No, I
wrong
know.
in this one, but you made some really good points for the Steelers.
No,
No,
it's
no,
gonna be
good
it's
point.
gonna be a hell of a game. It's gonna be a great game. Next, we have the
Other worst game of the week.
Cowboys in Washington. We
There
got
we
two
go.
NFC East games this week, boys.
You know what I say, guys?
We don't.
You know what I'm gonna say?
Oh wow!
You know what I'm gonna say?
I'm
Well,
afraid.
San
You know what I'm
Diego
saying?
Supercharged.
Give me the football team, baby!
Oh my god.
So bad. All these teams are so bad.
I don't even know who to go for in this one.
You know what? I'm rooting for Washington, and I'm gonna pick Washington. So that way they're tied for first in the division.
The
I
team
want
was
so
chaos.
terrible.
I want chaos. I want the winner of the NFC least to have 4 or 5 wins. That's my prediction. I want them to beat up on each other and just have a terrible record for first place.
I mean, it's probably going to happen, whether we want it to or not.
Oh yeah, probably.
I don't even know who to choose on this one because they're both terrible.
Well, do you hate the Cowboys more than the
Well,
football team?
obviously, I mean, I hate the Cowboys the most out of any of the NFC teams.
Sorry, Tony.
I'm not sorry, but no, I have no idea. But I think Washington's going to edge this one out.
We'll let the fan decide.
Yay.
So are we all? So what, Johnny? Who are you going with?
I'm gonna go with Dallas just because Andy Dalton played fairly well after Dak Prescott was injured. By the way, we all hope Dak Prescott was okay.
Yes.
Yes.
But I mean, and they've still got Zeke. I think they'll do okay. I'll go Dallas.
All right.
Joe,
Next, Packers, versus Texans.
This is also decent, sort of a
No, it's not.
so matchup.
This would be an
But-
entertaining one, I think.
Yeah, I would have to say the Packers in this one, but it's going to be closer than any of y'all think. Packers, I think, by a touchdown.
Okay. See, Packers looked bad last week against Tampa.
They did.
They looked
Yeah.
really, really bad.
That was surprising.
They scored the first 10, then they gave up 38 unanswered.
Awful.
Nick, I want to make a point to you. You realize the Texans are 1-5, right?
But they fired Bill
But-
O'Brien. Now Romeo
They,
Crennel.
Texans
That doesn't
almost,
mean that they're going to start winning.
Texans almost beat Titans last week.
Yeah.
They almost
But
beat
they
them in
didn't.
Tennessee.
But they didn't.
I got Rodgers rebounding, though. I have Rodgers eating up on that defense on Houston and Packers winning by at least 2 touchdowns.
I think that was just a fluke game that they had. I don't think that's not the Packers. I think they're much, much better than that.
Right.
I agree.
So we're all so what is it? Split?
What are you going with Green Bay as well, Johnny?
I'm going to go with Green Bay.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the safe pick. The
I
team that
think
is
all of us-
4-1 over the
Yep.
team that is 1-5, Nick. Over the team that has fired their coach and general manager, Nick.
Dude,
Which means they're not
I'm
good.
still picking the Packers. I'm just saying it's going to be, relatively close to what people think.
No,
It doesn't sound like you're
I'm
picking
on
the
your case
Packers.
because you said it was going to be a good game.
I
It's
said
not.
so and so game.
It's not.
I said so and so.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
How are those Mariners?
Anyway, so I do have to throw into the conversation as well. Charles, you are commenting. Thank you on the live feed. He said the Pillow Fight Championship belt goes to the NFC division. Well played. That's exactly right.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
The best way to
And-
put it.
He also put if Zeke wasn't and bumbling, I would choose Dallas. Which Zeke
Get
lost
out
2
of
fumbles
here.
last week. That's not like Zeke.
Mm.
So we'll see kind of what
Fumbled
happens.
once last week.
No, twice.
Twice.
Shut up.
He lost 2 fumbles. That's not like him.
I'm pulling it up on fantasy.
All
I
right.
would know.
Next, actually a pretty good game coming up. Seahawks and Cardinals. Actually
Not a
pretty good.
bad game at all, Joe. But do I want to do I want to take the upset in the Cardinals? I think so.
Is
Give me
Murray
the
gonna be able
Cardinals.
to pick it up?
Ooh, Cardinals.
Get out of here. Fumbled twice.
I want to go Cardinals because they're like that hot team that just went on the road to Dallas. They destroyed the Cowboys, but
That
it's hard to
doesn't say a
go
lot,
up.
though.
It's hard to go against Russell Wilson. They're 5-0. He's putting up numbers like crazy, and he's arguably the MVP of the league. I'll go Seahawks, but it's gonna be close.
I'm going to say the same thing. Like you said, Joe, I think that the last game made them look a lot better than they really are because they played a terrible Dallas team.
Right.
So I don't think that's Arizona's true colors. Not to say that they're doing bad this year, but I don't think they're going to make that win over Seattle right now.
Right.
Okay. So I do have to say, we do have a limited amount of time, so we do have to speed up pick'ems just a little bit. But I am going to say that Seahawks did not play super well against the Vikings. Now that's because the Vikings are playing super well. But my question is, how is that going to affect morale? With that said, I'll still go with the Seahawks, but it's going to be close.
Okay. Next, Chiefs Broncos.
Chiefs on 3.
They just beat us, Nick. They just beat Broncos. Just beat us.
I'm
Joe,
still,
did you
I'm still
play for
going
the
with
New
the
England
Chiefs.
Patriots?
Broncos just beat us.
I'm still going with the Chiefs. They're too good. They're like the Chiefs are better than the Patriots. You look at it.
These 2 teams have beat us in back to
That's
well, we had a bye week, but back-to-back opponents, both these teams have beat us. I want both of these teams to lose, but it won't happen. Give me the Chiefs, I guess.
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs.
It's hard to bet against the Chiefs.
Yeah,
Really
I'll
hard.
go with the Chiefs, but Nick, you saying that the Chiefs are better than the Patriots is like saying that the New York Yankees are better than your high school JV team.
Oh,
It's so obvious.
It is so obvious.
Not that you know what, not that kids playing JV are bad, but I mean, come on. The New York Yankees are the New York Yankees.
moving on. So we're all on the Chiefs.
Yep.
Okay. Next, San Francisco visits New England. 49ers.
Ooh, do I pick against my favorite team or do I pick with my favorite team?
Neither.
You know, Patriots will bounce back. I'm taking the Patriots, but game of inches. I'm going to take them by 1 point.
Joe,
I'll go Pats, but I don't feel good about it because we're playing against the NFC champs of last year, and the 49ers just beat up on a very good Rams team. But they have to travel out east. We typically have seen West Coast teams come east, and they struggle. In Gillette, it's hard to win, but Jimmy G knows us. So it's going to be a close game. But I got Patriots squeaking it out. And if they want any chance at the division and to stay in playoff contention, they need to win the games at home. So I got the Pats.
You know, I think as much as I feel like New England could pull this win off, I think San Francisco is going to do this one. I think they're going to edge this one out. But it's going to be really close.
San Francisco is undefeated on the road. Jimmy G knows our system for those reasons, and because the Patriots are playing so bad, I'm going to go with the 49ers.
To be fair, 2 out of 3 wins on the road are the Giants and Jets. Just want to throw that out there for the San Fran fans out there. They have beat the winless Jets and the 1-win Giants both at MetLife. So
San Francisco is like the king of New York right now.
New York, not New England. So we'll see.
They did lose to Philly, though.
This is true. Next, Jaguar. Oh, jeez. Jaguars and Chargers.
Good Lord. Do I go with Minshew or Herbert?
This game is a battle of 1-win teams.
No, I'll go with the Chargers. Why not? Why not? It's a coin toss, but I'll go with the Chargers. I'll let Herbert get his win.
What was Johnny singing earlier? San Diego Superchargers. I'll go Chargers. I don't feel good about it, but I mean both teams are bad, so I'll go Chargers, I guess.
I'm going to do the thing. I don't really know how this game is going to play out, but that was my uneducated guess right there.
So you're going LA?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we all in LA, Johnny?
Yeah, I'm going to go LA.
Okay. Next, Sunday Night Football. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Las Vegas Raiders.
Ooh, you know what? Another person named Tom would like my pick. I'm going to go with the Raiders here over Tampa Bay.
Are you doing that because of Tom?
Well, maybe.
Yes.
Most likely.
I got Tampa.
He's
Tampa's
doing
a more talented team. I got Tampa Bay. They're 4-2. They're on a tear. They put up 38 against Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, you know what? I need to make up my picks from, not going 0-16 1 week. So I gotta.
Yeah, you do.
I gotta do something.
That's very true.
You've only got 8 points
Picks already. What happened, Johnny?
All right. So
You've only got
Yeah.
8 points.
I gotta
Who you
make up
got?
games.
I'm going to also go with Tampa Bay. I think they are on a roll right now. I
Okay.
think Brady is finding his place, and Gronk is finally catching a ball or two. But I think they have a lot better odds than Vegas does.
Okay. Johnny?
Tom usually plays worse on in the season. But we haven't reached the halfway point yet. Still going to play well. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
Okay. Nick's the only one on Raiders.
Yes.
Like usual.
That pick was brought to you by Caesar's Palace, not sponsored by us.
And finally, the Monday night matchup. Not a bad game.
Not sponsored.
The Bears at La Rams.
This will be entertaining.
Bears and Rams.
Give me a good one.
Give me the Bears.
Who do you trust more, Nick Foles or Jared Goff? Rams just lost last week to San Fran. I think they bounced back, and they're at home in that $2 billion stadium. So I got La Rams. If we're doing the Bears and La Rams, I'll do La Rams.
Oh boy.
Nice
Thank
fun.
you.
Yep, I'm gonna agree with you on that one, Joe. I think Darnold and Goff are gonna pull it off. Johnny?
I don't think the Bears are as good as their 5 record says. They are undefeated on the road, but I mean, it's not like they've had the hardest schedule either.
Right.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Rams, but I'm excited to watch this game. This is probably gonna be the best game of the week.
It's gonna be fun.
A lot of good games this week, actually. You got Bears, Rams, you have Buccaneers, Raiders, 49ers, Pats. I would throw that in. Seahawks, Cardinals, and then Titans, Steelers. That's a good lineup, and that stretches all day, Sunday into Monday too. So, good lineup of games. If you have NFL Red Zone, kick back and relax.
Well done.
Let's not forget Giants Eagles though.
Like I was saying, it stretches from Sunday to Monday. Good games. Not Thursday night. And recap too. The Colts, Dolphins, Vikings, and Ravens are on a bye week this week. So anybody who has fantasy players from those 4 teams, I recommend sitting.
Well, thank you very much, Joe. And thank you very much, Nick and Donnelly, for making your picks. Good luck to you all.
Good luck. Moving on to brackets.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Let's do it.
I do want to throw in real quick, Charles. I missed Charles, and Nick's already with his notes. Charles, Zeke needs Tim McGraw to duct tape the ball to his leg and slap around Friday Night Lights style. Well played. I
Best
missed that
comment
one.
of the day.
I was looking at the
Well
game.
played.
Oh, bravo. Bravo.
Very well done.
Wow.
Charles, again, Raiders have been upsetting teams if Tampa can't come off that high from stopping the Packers. So a key game for me being who dat. I hope the Raiders can pull it off. And then he finishes with the NFC East. No comment needed, just NFC East. So thank you, Charles, for commenting. And hopefully people can comment too on the upcoming bracket questions.
All right. With that said, I think we'll move on to our first bracket matchup. We have Mr. Johnny Redmond against Mr. Jonathan Donnelly.
The 2 Johns.
Boys, you each have 1 minute apiece.
Yep.
All
So
right.
you want me
My
to?
question is,
Yeah,
So-
Nick, you want to do the stopwatch, Nick?
No, I can read off the question. You can do the stopwatch.
Clock ready. Well, as soon
All
as
right.
you are done reading the question, I will start the clock for whoever goes first.
So let's
Donnelly,
start
I'll
with,
let you go first on this one.
Okay.
Donnelly's first.
okay. So Donnelly, you first. This is your question against Johnny Redmond. 18 teams met to form a possible Super League to overtake Champions League as early as 2022. Is a Super League possible in Europe? Donnelly, your time starts now.
Now,
First off, this question has been up for debate since the 90s. It's been around a long time. However, this year with the whole pandemic is pretty much the time to do it. There's money lost with lack of fans. Having this Super League is a huge moneymaker because there's going to be no relegation. No one's going to leave the league if you come in the bottom 3 or 5 or whatever. So it's a big money booster. Plus, you get all the revenue from the big games because you're going to have all the top teams in this league, and they're all going to play each other. You know, you're going to have Barcelona. You're going to have Real Madrid. You're going to have
10
some of the
seconds.
German teams. It's going to be big for them. but I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Very good.
Johnny, your time starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
You see, I would agree with this, but I think that relegation does put a stop to that. I mean, how are you going to figure out the relegation in between the Premier League? You know, it's a good point, but we also have the Champions League to deal with too. And when you think of competitive nature, as a whole, the Bundesliga is not on the same level as the Premier League or La Liga at all. You know, I just think there's so much differentiation and talent, and the fact that we already have the Champions League. I mean, why ruin a good thing? You're right. It would bring in more revenue and it would be better for the sport overall. But I think that the different leagues I think it makes it more competitive. I think it makes it more interesting for fans to watch. I mean, if fans were all just watching one league, it would be so hard to be able to follow everything and
5 seconds.
catch up. And they wouldn't be able to figure out relegation at all. There would be such a differentiation between, good teams and bad teams. So.
Okay. Good arguments, boys.
Very good.
Nick, what's your scores?
So very good arguments, guys, but I would have to give the edge to John Donnelly here, actually. Like he threw in some historical aspect in there at the beginning of his argument. I love that. So I'm going to give Donnelly a 4, Johnny a 2.
Ooh.
Okay. It was close. It was very close between you guys. You both put up good arguments. Johnny, I would give you a 4. Well done. Donnelly, you held your ground. Not as much as Johnny, though. But I'll give you a 3.
So he advances.
All right.
Oh,
It was close, Johnny. It was
you know
close.
what?
Really
I
close.
tip my hat to you, sir.
All right, next question. Me and Nick.
All right, your guys' question is, we didn't really talk about the NBA championship last week, but obviously LeBron got his 4th championship. At this point, LeBron versus MJ, who is the real GOAT?
All right, who's
Donnelly,
starting?
you want to do time?
I'll do time.
Johnny's doing time?
Yep.
Nick, who you want, me or you first?
I'll defer to Joe.
Always.
Okay. Your time starts in 3, 2, 1, now.
I mean, how can you go against the one and only Michael Jordan as the GOAT based on the fact that he's 6-0 in finals? He was the star player on the team. I know he had Scottie Pippen, but he didn't have to go from team to team. I give LeBron this credit, though, because he has now brought 3 franchises to a championship with Miami, Cleveland, and LA, which is very hard to do. He's the only player to do that. 3 MVPs in the finals with 3 different teams. But you look at MJ, he dominated a decade. He dominated the 90s. He was the GOAT of all GOATs. He went to North Carolina, the University of National Champions. And I know I'm going to lose points with Johnny on that reference because he's a Duke fan. But I think that overall, though, MJ being clutch in college, bringing it back to the NBA, he is the greatest of all time.
That's it. All right.
Great job.
Nick, your time starts in 3, 2, 1.
All right, so I'm gonna go with Michael Jordan as well, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Michael Jordan, but I'm gonna go inside the numbers here. So Michael Jordan had more scoring titles, MJ 10, LeBron only 1. He had more career steals. Michael Jordan 2005 and 14, LeBron only had 2015. And while LeBron just passed Jordan for more blocks, Jordan led for the longest time in career blocks. Now, the reason why I'm saying all these defensive numbers is because when you think about the greatest of all time, you think of being great at all facets of your respective sport. Also, too, I want to throw in Michael Jordan won Defensive Player of the Year for 1 year. LeBron never had done that. Also, LeBron had offensive help, and Michael Jordan never had a teammate average more than 22 points in the finals. So,
All right. So, great arguments, boys. I'm going to go ahead and go first. And I'm going to make a point that I'm sure everybody, even the viewers, are thinking. Nick, you did your research. Hey, nice job. All right. Great job. And you made some fairly good points. I mean, it's hard to say everything in a minute. I think you made some really good points. MJ, the better scorer, and I think he gets a little bit of an edge defensively. I completely agree with you there. But there was one point that I don't agree with you on, and it's that MJ didn't have the better teammates. I like Joe's point better, or I was going to say LeBron, up until Anthony Davis, didn't have really great teammates. I mean, he either didn't really mesh well with them or they kind of had to take a back seat. I mean, Dwayne Wade was good, but you can argue that Chris Bosh and Kyrie Irving, even Kevin Love, I mean, they're good, but not great, you know? And then that sets them apart from Dennis Rodman that MJ had and Scottie Pippen, two of the top 50 players of all time, you know? So, Nick, I'm going to go ahead and give you a 4, and congratulations. Joe, just because I think Nick did his research, I think you made a good point, but I'm going to go ahead and give you a 3. Not even because you mentioned Duke UNC, but because of that.
Okay.
Go ahead, Donnelly.
Well, I like both of you as points. I like Nick, your research was top notch as usual. But it was all just stats. There wasn't a lot of, personal opinions on this one. So not discrediting your stats, but it's not enough personal opinion on it. Although, like Johnny said, there's a lot. It's hard to say all this in 1 minute. So I'm going to give you a 4. On the other hand, Joe, a lot of personal opinions, some stats, just was looking for a little more statistics on why. So on that note, I will also give you a 4.
So, Nick, congratulations. You're moving on to the championship round. Joe, third place game.
All right. I do have to throw in one thing from the comment section on Facebook. Nick, you're a father. Bird was better. Larry Bird was better.
I think you just
scored it with 2. You're going to the third place game.
but
I'm kidding.
yeah, we were talking about MJ versus LeBron.
I just wanted to throw that in there. You commented. So.
Bird was better. Bird was great. Top 5 player of all time.
All right.
Not better than MJ.
All right, third place game. Me and Johnny.
All right. Nick, you want to read the question?
And
I
Donnelly,
sure
you're
can.
keeping time?
Sure.
Okay, me and Johnny. Let's
All
do it.
right. So the question, and who wants to go first?
Johnny, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so Johnny, the question for you in the third place game against Joe: Mookie Betts, is he baseballs? LeBron James. Credit to Ken Rosenthal on this topic from Fox Sports. You ready to start the timer, Donnelly?
I'm ready.
All right, starting. Johnny, your time starts now.
Okay, so first off, I just want to say Ken Rosenthal, I don't discredit you, but this point is ridiculous. There's really one LeBron James in all of baseball. A guy who's clearly a 5-tool player, the best of his generation, and there's no question about it. It's Mike Trout, right? Guy can run, field, contact, power, everything. I mean, Mike Trout doesn't have the success of LeBron James, whereas Mookie Betts has a little bit more success on a team standpoint, but it's not a team game. Mike Trout makes the Angels better just by being on that team. He makes the players around him better. He's a better role model, I think. You know, not that Mookie Betts is a bad role model, but, you know, Mike Betts has this overwhelming personality of being a nice guy, right? It's what he's known for in Major League Baseball.
Yep.
All right, we heard from Johnny. Now it's your turn, Joe. Joe, your time starts now.
No, he's not Michael Jordan of baseball. What is he, nuts? I know he works for Fox. He's a great, reporter. Come on, man. He's not even the best in LA. I mean, Johnny just brought up Mike Trout. He plays in the same city. And Mike Trout has won MVPs. He's won, I know Mookie Betts has too. But come on, you can't overlook the other guy in the other stadium in the same town, same city. If anything, Mookie Betts is making the money Michael Jordan and LeBron James has. With that contract he just signed, the 12-year, all incentives, everything, $500 million almost. But come on, man. LeBron has won 4 championships. Mookie has 1. Let's slow the roll a little bit. He gets to the playoffs every year. Great. Like LeBron. At the same time, LeBron James is in a field of his own, and Mike Trout is clearly the best player.
Done.
Well, there you go. All right. Let's start with the voting with Mr. John Donnelly.
I think some very valid points. Gonna have to go with 4 for Joe and a 3 for Johnny.
Okay. Both exceptional scores right there. But like Donnelly, I would have to give the edge to Joe. Joe 4, Johnny 3.
Once he took my player, I was nervous.
So, Johnny, you are muted for the rest of the show. Have any last words?
Hi, buddy.
I just want to say thank you guys for having me. And I'm going to go ahead and pass my hosting duties over to Mr. Nicholas Allen Odell.
All right. But Nick and Donnelly.
One more point. Like, comment, subscribe.
I'm going to say that at the end, Johnny, and you're muted.
And mute.
Yep.
So we're down to the championship, boys. Nick versus Donnelly. I will keep time. And the question, I know he gave the host to you, and you can end the show, Nick. But for the championship round, for college football, should teams be penalized for not playing games or for losing games that could have been avoided? Going back to the topic, what we were talking about college football earlier in the show. You each have 1 minute on the clock. Who would like to go first?
Donnelly, I'll defer to you.
As you usually do.
Donnelly's time begins in 3, 2, 1, go.
So, like I said before, in some ways they should be penalized, but it really just kind of comes down to what they decide on the playoffs. Do they expand it? They expand it. I don't think people should be penalized. And I think it should just be viewed as just any other year, any other playoff picture. But when you see a team like Ohio State come in and somehow make the playoffs, does that really look good? Not really, because, they missed out on the first 4 or 5 games. Not really a good look for them. And that goes for any other team that is in the same situation. We have teams that played all the games, some of the games, and none. And when a team that hasn't played at all does really good, I don't think they should get the credit.
10
It's
seconds.
just not a good look.
5 seconds.
I'm good.
Okay. That does not mean you take the remainder of his time. You still have 1 minute.
Okay.
Time starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
I don't think they should get penalized. So they're not playing games, and we're in the middle of a global pandemic. It's out of college football's control. So I don't think they should be penalized. I mean, if it was any other year, just not playing games, I mean, yes, they should be penalized. But this is an exception. And that's it. That's it.
You have 30 seconds.
That's it. That's it.
Why do we even keep track of time then for you both? All right. Championship game was cut short based on not a lot of points for both players. Johnny, are you writing your scores?
I think he's attempting to, but his pen is not.
I know. I saw his pen being stuck. All right. I'll go first then, since he's doing that. Both good arguments, boys. I will both give you a 4. Both solid arguments. And so that way I don't decide the winner. It's in Johnny's head.
I'm sure he's thrilled to decide this one.
We can hear his excitement right now.
I know.
All right.
Invigorating.
All right, Johnny, you got about 10 seconds. You just have to write 2 numbers.
Write 2 numbers.
They're both tied at 4 right now.
Well, in the meantime, for those of you who are tuning in, please like and subscribe to all our social media pages, Facebook. All right, and then I think we're ready, right? Drum roll, please.
So. Nick, voice of reason, but looking for more. 4, Donnelly, solid argument, but lacking with capital.
Hey!
Nick with a 4, Donnelly with a 3. Nick wins.
Let's go.
Right.
Wow, close.
That was really close. And Donnelly, a good matchup there.
Wow. Well
all right, all right, so that ends the bracket segment right there. We're gonna move right along to our trivia answer, since Johnny gave me the hosting duties for the rest of the show. Thank you, Johnny, for that.
On one note, before you continue on, Nick,
I'll go ahead, Donnelly.
I had a little incident earlier and was not able to make the first quarter of our show. I did not get to give my input for
Right, okay.
trivia. So if you want to read that, I will give my answer, and then you can give out the correct answer.
Okay.
Which is my
answer. So for Donnelly and whoever missed the question out there who was tuning in, on this day in 1998, the New York Yankees defeated the San Diego Padres in 4 games to win the World Series. Now listen closely, Donnelly. How many combined wins, regular and postseason, did the Yankees have during that season? You have 4 options. A, 119, B, 120, C, 124, or D, 125 wins.
I'm going to go with B.
So
I think that seems
guess.
reasonable.
So right now we have A, B, and C covered. Watch, it's D.
The correct answer is, in fact, drum roll please, D, 125 wins. D is the correct answer. At the time, it was the most wins in the 123-year history of Major League Baseball.
We're not very good at trivia.
125, my goodness. The 98 Yankees were just on a different level. And Donnelly, before you go into final thoughts, also on this day in 1980, your Philadelphia Phillies won their first ever World Series, defeating the Kansas City Royals in 6 games. So something to look back on for a Philly fan.
That was the year, I believe, all of Philadelphia was in the playoffs.
1980, yeah.
If not the championship, too.
We're not very good at trivia.
No.
All right, moving on to
work on that.
Moving on to final thoughts. I get to select the order. I'll go with the third place game or third place winner, Joe. You get to go ahead, and then it goes Donnelly after that, and me lastly.
Okay. For my final thought, I'm sad to see baseball wrapping up because it's the World Series. At max, there's only 6 more games, so it ends this week. Hockey's done. Basketball's done. Man, were we spoiled for a month or 2, which is every sport going on. So that's wrapping up. We're seeing our champions be crowned after the Lightning, after the Lakers, and either the Dodgers or Rays. With the college football season in full effect, with the Big Ten starting back up this weekend and the Pac-12 as well, I just hope we can finish these seasons off too, so that way COVID does not tamper with any sports and it cuts us short for the big top tier sports that people talk about. That's covered. I know sports were cut, different programs at universities and other sports like that. But to crown a champion as many times as we can through this pandemic would be nice, just to be able to have a season for us to talk about. We go sports, we go live every week. We want to talk sports. If football's canceled, with COVID or any other reasons, we don't really have a show because Masters is coming up, golf is wrapping up, and there's not much other sports coming up besides football the next month or two. So I know college basketball is supposed to start maybe December, give or take, but that's still being planned out. So we'll see what happens. I'm wearing my football hat. We want storylines like 28-3. We want storylines. We want football. I think we can all agree. And even though all these COVID cases, Patriots moving games and bye weeks, other teams doing that and closing facilities and everything, we all can be on board, and hopefully football continues.
Very well said, like usual, for your final thought, Joe.
Thank you.
Donnelly, how about you?
I don't got much, but I just hope the NFL can figure out this season so we don't have any, crazy, multiple, more than necessary bye weeks and extensions and all that. Just hope we can just have this nice, normal season with the Super Bowl first weekend of February. That's all I want.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, Nick,
my final
floor is yours.
My final thought is real quick. So, Joe, you and I participated in our Westfield State virtual homecoming this past weekend. It was a very, I just want to point out, if anybody was tuning in from from that weekend, we kind of promoted our show during our communication department reunion over Zoom. So for those of you who if at all tuned in, first of all, thank you, and it was good seeing you guys, over the weekend, and I think Joe can attest to that, right, Joe?
Yeah, go Owls.
I always do my annual homecoming shout out on TV, radio, here, whatever. But I think that just about does it for this edition of the Sports Take Podcast. Guys, we covered a lot today, so thank you. Thank you.
I want to say a quick shout out before we end the show, though, to the people that commented overall.
Yeah.
Scott Odell, Charles Bird, and is that all of them? So you guys were the real MVPs commenting all show, so thank you very much,
Yes.
Scott and Charles and Peter. I should say Pete asked about the Dodgers as well early on in the show. So thank you guys. Keep commenting, keep liking the page, promote the page overall, and please thank you for continuing to tune in while we go live.
Yeah, thank you, Dad, for tuning in. I mean, I think this was his first, he doesn't tune in that often, so thank you. Also, too, I'll go like and subscribe to our friends over at PNT Weekly. They have a good show, too.
I do have to say, too, we have one new comment at the very end, at the buzzer. Ben Backfeller, thank you. Thank you, Nick, for having the best mic.
Best mic?
Apparently, you're coming in the clearest.
I don't know why, but well, that just about does it for Sports Take Podcast. Also, too, go subscribe to our friends podcast, PNT Weekly. They do a good show every week. P. Gilbert, Tony Luciani. So go like and subscribe to them, as well as ours too. Please like and subscribe to our social media pages. For Joe Gentile, Johnny Redmond, who's currently muted right now. For John Donnelly, I'm Nick Odell saying so long, and we'll see you guys next week. But for now, keep watching sports, everybody. Take care, everybody.
See you, everybody.